Hey guys, welcome to the show. I'm Travis. And today we're going to do our 2017 NFL preview for the New York Giants. Obviously, last year they had a great year. They went 11-5, and they somehow didn't win the NFC East title. I mean, that just shows how good of a division they're in right now. They paid lots of money in that defense. They performed really well, but going into this year, what were their big offseason needs?
Well, like we said, they put a lot of money and investment into their defense last year and really paid dividends for them. So this year kind of comes down to fixing that offense a little bit, which kind of struggled throughout the season last year. And it all starts with the running back. You know, they haven't really had a workhorse type of guy since Tiki Barber retired all the way back in 2006. So to get a guy like there, you know, that'll be a huge boost for that offense that really needs some balance where Eli Manning's kind of getting older.
Trying to watch them run the ball last year, it was
hard
bad.
to watch. It was hard to watch.
I mean, they had no balance.
Some of that goes to that offensive line, too, which is your second biggest need. Which, I mean, not only do they need an offensive line to kind of get that running game going, but, I mean, they need to protect Eli Manning. He's 36 years old, he's getting up there in age, and, you know, while he's been able to stay healthy throughout his entire career, when it gets to New York, it's really cold late in the year, you know, and if he's not getting protection, that kind of opens him up to injuries.
Yeah, you can't keep letting your quarterback keep getting hit like that, because eventually, I mean, he's going to get hurt.
He's going to get hurt eventually.
They really need to shore up the offensive line to protect him.
Yeah, for sure. And, you know, going back to that defense, even though it was really good last year, and they really did a lot of things to improve it, linebacking core is still a really big weak spot for them. You know, I thought the defensive line, their secondary, really made up for the fact that their linebacking core is very suspect overall. Yeah, they had elite defensive line, they had elite secondary, they kind of put that New York defense back on the map, but that linebacking core, they were kind of bailed out by the secondary and the front four. I mean, it could be the difference between their defense being a very good defense to an elite defense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's what we're looking at here in terms of their linebacking core.
Yeah. Well, going into free agency, they lost a few big guys. What are some guys they lost?
Well, I mean, we talked about how much they spent last year, and they kind of still feeling the repercussions of that with their salary cap.
Yeah.
So they lost a big-name guy in Jonathan Hankins at defensive tackle, who's a really big part of that defensive line rotation, along with Damon Harrison at the other defensive tackle spot. He's a little bit more of a pass rusher than Damon Harrison, but he's a big part of that dominant run-stopping group that they had.
Yeah, man, Damon Harrison and Jonathan Hankins, those two guys lined up right next to each other. That was a nightmare for offensive linemen. Like, good luck trying to move those guys. Those guys they ate up so much space. That's why they were so good at stopping the run last year. So losing a guy like that, that's going to hurt a little bit. Luckily, they still have a really good defensive tackle, though.
No, they're still pretty good in the defensive line still.
Yeah.
Like, it's not a deal breaker for that defensive line. It's still an elite group there. Yeah. But that can be a pretty big loss for them, considering what if Damon Harrison gets hurt. And I really don't have a foundational guy to really have in that starting spot. But, again, they still have Damon Harrison there, so they're still pretty good there, I think, overall.
It'll be interesting to see how they do against the run with losing a big defensive tackle like that. But another defensive player they ended up losing was cornerback Leon Hall. You know, obviously, he's kind of getting older in age. He wasn't really part of their long-term future. But, I mean, he was still kind of productive when he got on the field. He was like a leader for them. And
he was a solid slot guy, you know, but they have Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie there. Yeah. They have Janoris Jenkins there. And they drafted Eli Apple last year. Yeah, so there really wasn't that much of a need to bring him back. So, again, I don't really think that's a big loss for them. And again, those three are going to be the guys they want to play anyway.
Yeah, exactly. You know, getting Eli Apple more playing time to help him develop will be big. You know, he looks like he has a really bright future in the game.
He looks pretty good so far.
Yeah, and another guy that they ended up losing, which was a fan favorite in New York, everyone loved him, Mr. Salsa Dance himself, Victor Cruz. I mean, I'm going to miss watching him dancing in the end zone, but you know, he had a lot of injuries that kind of plagued him the last few years in New York. You know, they got guys like Sterling Shepard, Odell, and you know, that guy, they'll kind of help ease the loss of him. You know, he was hurt a lot, so it kind of makes sense.
Well, I mean, hopefully he brings that salsa dancing to Chicago. I'm hoping as a Bears fan. But in terms of the Giants, you know, he's getting older last year. He's been injured a lot, and he just hasn't been quite as productive as he was in that, you know, that great run he had in 2011 where they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
He hasn't quite been the same player since then, but I think he's still a solid slot receiver. You know, really kind of wasn't used that way last year, though, because Sterling Shepard kind of came out as a rookie and kind of took over that role for him there.
Yeah, I agree. Well, they ended up losing another offensive playmaker, running back Rashad Jennings.
Yep.
Obviously, you know, he was a big name that didn't really perform well. They were hoping that he could kind of be the guy to help, you know, revive that running game. He ended up not doing that well, so losing him it wasn't that big of a loss, obviously.
No, I mean, again, he's a below-average running back. He's kind of getting up there in age.
Yeah.
Really didn't do much for them last year, and he's kind of a grinded-out type of running back, which is, you kind of need that in New York when it gets really cold late in the year and stuff.
Yeah.
But, I mean, he wasn't really making that much of a difference for them anyway, so they lose him.
Yeah, they have a few younger running back options that I'm sure they'd like to get more playing time to see what they have out of them. So it kind of makes sense letting an aging veteran go at this point.
Yep. Well, kind of going from their departures, again, we talked about how they didn't really have that much salary cap to work with this year and to really make a splash in free agency. But they did make one big splash in getting Brandon Marshall at wide receiver for a really good price, too, actually.
Pairing him up against right across from Odell Beckham, I mean, that is going to be a lethal passing attack. Holy cow. I mean, Eli Manning is going to have so many weapons to throw to. If that running game could just get going, I mean, they could possibly have one of the best offenses.
This could be an elite offense for them this year.
Yeah.
And don't forget about Sterling Shepard again in the slot.
Oh, yeah. He's a young player.
Eli Manning's going to have a lot of weapons this year. And Brandon Marshall's a guy, he can kind of play a hybrid tight end role as well because he's such a big physical wide receiver. You can put him on the outside, put him in the slot. And again, like kind of that hybrid tight end type of role that, you saw like Quincy Newon kind of play for the Jets last year.
Yeah.
Brandon Marshall can kind of do the same things. He's a similar type of big-bodied wide receiver.
Yeah, he can create some mismatches.
Exactly. A lot of mismatches for Eli Manning to kind of expose there. So if Eli Manning can't get a great season out of this receiving core, that kind of says a lot about your quarterback there. But other additions they got guard/tackle DJ Fluker from the Chargers, who was in a bust for them. Not a bust, but just kind of hasn't lived up to expectations.
Yeah, he didn't really live up to expectations. So hopefully, maybe going to a new city will kind of help refocus him. Maybe he'll come out and be that guy that could kind of help shore up the offensive line. I'm not so sure he will be, but I mean he's young, so he can kind of hopefully continue to develop. It's kind of like a low-risk, high-reward signing for them.
Yeah, he's more of a run blocker, too, so maybe he can help that running game a little bit.
Yeah.
Another addition they made, quarterback Geno Smith.
Yeah. He moved from New York Jets to the Giants.
Yeah. So not a really big move for him there, but they're going to bring him in to be the backup just in case Eli Manning does get injured, which hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So far, he hasn't missed a start yet in his career, I believe.
Yeah, I don't think so.
So, which is kind of amazing when you think about it. But, I mean, again, the goal here for him is they're not expecting him to play at all. But as an emergency, I mean, he's not a terrible backup, I don't think. He's definitely not a starter for sure.
He's not a starter. He's a good backup to have. He's still young. Obviously, he's selected pretty high in the draft when he went. And, he's going to have a chance to learn behind Eli Manning, which, I mean, is a great move for him because Eli's a guy who can mentor him. And Eli is kind of getting older up there in age. So, if something happens to injury or, if they still have Geno Smith, maybe 4 years from now, he can be potentially the guy.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't think he's going to be that type of guy for them. But as a backup, you can do a lot worse. I mean, he can be a pretty decent backup for you.
Yeah.
And then other additions made, Sean Drawn, running backs, kind of going to be a backup for them.
Yeah, he had a few big games for the 49ers. And obviously they've been looking for running back help. So adding a guy that could, maybe make their running game a little more explosive, that'll be a good pickup.
Yep, and then tight end Rhett Ellison, again, another backup type of guy. Get some depth on that offense.
Yeah. Well, transitioning from free agency into the draft, with their first-round pick, they ended up selecting tight end Evan Ingram. And, man, I mean, they haven't had an elite tight end since Jeremy Shockey. And this guy could be the guy. I mean, he's got great athleticism, a big guy. He can run down the field. I mean, this is a good pickup for them. Talking about, with Brandon Marshall, Sterling Shepard, Odell. Now you add a guy like Evan Ingram.
The rich get richer here. I mean, he's basically a wide receiver in a tight end's body, basically. Yeah. I mean, the scouting report on him is that he's got incredible speed for the tight end position. I believe he ran like a 4.44. He's a tight end.
That's incredible.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
He's got great receiving talent, but he won't block at all. So if Giants fans, if you want him expecting him to help that running game out, no, that's not going to happen. He's there to be basically a wide receiver disguised as a tight end, kind of like a Jordan Reed for the Washington Redskins.
Yeah,
there,
and that's just going to help with that lethal passing offense. If he can make an impact from day one, I mean, that's just going to put the offense Super Bowl ready.
Eli Manning's got a lot of weapons here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying right now, if Eli Manning does not have an elite year in terms of stat-wise putting up numbers,
that would just be a major disappointment.
That would be a major disappointment.
Yeah.
So, for sure. The second round, they ended up shoring up the defensive tackle depth, getting Dalvin Tomlinson out of Alabama. And while he's not a star player, I don't think going forward, he can contribute right away. He's a strong, big guy, can kind of help stop the run with some pass rush potential.
Yeah, well, they ended up losing Jonathan Hankins, so they drafted pretty much a guy that can potentially take over at his spot. He's a defensive tackle, so all he really needs to do is kind of hold your ground, shore up the run game, and I think he can kind of have a big impact. Defensive line depth is really important, to have rotational pieces that you can bring in. He's younger, so they can continue to develop him. So I thought that was a good pick for them.
Yeah, good pick for them overall. And then the third round, quarterback Davis Webb out of California. This guy's got a lot of prototypical traits you look for a pocket passer as a prospect going forward. And, he's a guy that could potentially be their developmental project in case Eli Manning kind of retires in the next couple of years.
So is this the guy that you kind of see that they're looking to develop instead of Geno Smith?
Yeah, I think this is the guy that they want to be their quarterback of the future, possibly.
Okay.
Again, it's a third-round pick, so they're not really expecting him to be a guy that's going to be a franchise quarterback.
Yeah.
But as a developmental project, I think it could work out for them because he's got good size for the position. He's got a pretty good arm. He's fairly accurate. And, the scouting report on him was that he was probably a top 5 type of quarterback for this draft class, which, albeit, was a weaker draft class for quarterbacks.
Yeah.
So they gave him the third round. I think it's an interesting spot to kind of have him as a developmental guy.
Yeah, and if Eli, if he could continue his career and play into his mid-40s, obviously you can use a guy like this as a trade piece. Kind of like what the Patriots have in Jimmy Garoppolo. So it'll be interesting to see what they have in him. But it's nice to have a young quarterback
to develop.
They'll have him for a few years to keep him around to see what happens with Eli Manning. Well, transitioning from the draft to training camp is fully underway. Yep. What are some of the big storylines going into training camp for the Giants?
Well, it starts with that offensive line because, like we said, Eli Manning's getting older, and they really didn't make any big additions.
Upgrades.
No really big upgrades to the offensive line, so it'll be interesting to see how the offensive line kind of works itself out.
Yeah, obviously, I think they should have gone bigger because this has been a big problem with them for years, trying to protect Eli Manning to try to get the running game going. So it'll be interesting to see, but with this lethal passing game, all you can do is really try to get the ball out of Eli Manning's hands quickly so they can't get to him. I think that's the best thing to do for them.
Yeah, and Bob Mackey's their head coach. He's a guy that likes to get the ball out of Eli Manning's hands quicker.
Yeah.
It's the West Coast type of offense, so they're going to try and get that quick passing game going. And they got the perfect weapons to do that because Odell Beckham's a guy who's really good in space. Brandon Marshall's a big body possession wide receiver.
Yeah.
Evan Engram creates some mismatch problems. Sterling Shepard. The weapons are endless for Eli Manning here on the offensive side of the ball, man.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just saying that he could have a great year for them if he can be right.
Yeah. Another interesting storyline is going to be who's going to step up at running back position for the Giants.
Yeah, really. I can't really tell at this point.
Yeah, I feel like it's going to be running back by committee mainly. Yep. They're going to feed the hot hand. Well, I don't think there's a clear-cut guy that's going to start for them.
They didn't really make a big addition in free agency, and I didn't really see anybody in the draft that they really added at all. So.
Yeah, I guess they're kind of hoping out for Paul Perkins.
Yep.
He didn't really have that good of a year last year, but he's got some skills that if he can just get used to the NFL, they're kind of hoping that he can kind of help rejuvenate the running game.
Yeah, it's a long ways to do from the days of Tom Coughlin, who would always try and grind it up there and run the ball, but
completely different style.
Completely different style. They're going to try and throw the ball up and down the field this year.
Yeah, and another interesting storyline will be, can the defense repeat and be as dominant as what they were last year?
And I think they have the pieces to do it. They didn't really, they didn't upgrade that linebacking core, which I thought was a huge need for them. But they still have the necessary pieces to still be a good defense this year.
Yeah, they got the main guys who made that defense elite last year. They're going to be back again this year. I think that they can replicate it.
Yeah.
They just have such a deadly pass rush with Vernon and JPP on the sides. And have Dominique Rodgers-Cromartie and Janoris Jenkins. Those are two really good quarterbacks.
And don't forget about Landon Collins.
Oh, yeah, he had fantastic.
He might have had the best year of any safety out there, maybe besides Eric Berry, but even that was it was close. Both those guys were elite safeties last year, and he just had a breakout year for them.
Yeah, he really had a huge breakout year for them, and he's really going to turn into the leader of that defense. Yep. I think he's going to replicate it again.
Yep.
He's looking to be one of the bona fide stars at the safety position.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. That defense is good, and, they still, again, linebacking core is still a weak spot for them. That can be something that can be exposed. And we kind of saw them get exposed in the playoffs last year against the Packers, where Aaron Rodgers kind of started going up and down the field once the offense for the Giants kind of started to stall a little bit.
Yeah.
But, again, I mean, their defense is still stacked. I think Eli Apple might take that next step forward going to his second year, and their defense is going to be good.
Yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see in the NFC between the Giants and the Cowboys. Who's going to take the top spot?
Those are still the two top dogs in this division, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. And, yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. That was our preview for the New York Giants. The next team we'll be doing is the Washington Redskins, so stay tuned.
Yeah, thanks for watching, guys.